Alright guys, so welcome back. Today I have something different for you. It's something that I want to try, and it's called Mono Water 2 Ways. The reason I'm doing this is because there's a lot of different water variants, and I suppose I could do this 3 ways, but I haven't fully tested Mono Water monsters in this new format. And honestly, I never really liked the Mono Water monster builds. So with that being said, what this is going to do is I'm giving you guys 2 decks, and I've tested both of these. I've played, I've taken them both to locals. They both have been very successful, and they're very different, and they kind of like have different advantages against different decks and stuff like that. So it's really why I wanted to talk about them, and I didn't want to make 2 different videos, and like we can bring it all together here, and I want to give you guys like a sort of like a discussion or an overview of, I guess, the state of water, of mono water in general. So first of all, we have here, this is the water summons version. You'll notice we have all these extra summons, and they're a little different. Yeah, we have water, but we also have the lightning summons. We'll get into that in a little bit, but this summons version revolves around Garnet and Minwoo, and the new Minwoo anyway. He is a really great card. He's strong. I don't know. I like him both. The problem is obviously that we can't play both Minwoo. But obviously here you had to make a choice, and I'll go over the decisions I made with the backups and stuff like that. And then the next deck I'll show you guys in a little bit it has a different engine altogether, and it's a little more traditional, I want to say. But yeah, so without further ado, guys, we're going to get into it. This is the first version. And we're going to start off with Triple Ash. Ash has just been an amazing card. I find out, like, every time I play a new deck, or at least something, Ash doesn't have a problem. Ash adapts. Ash becomes more useful, I feel, as the game progresses. It's actually really important to keep her alive, actually, because it puts your opponent in a state of, like, I can't do certain things. Like, it makes them almost hold back, or forces them to wait for answers that they need, which gives you a great time to, set up your board. And so, against Scions, obviously, for example, it's like they're the new Scions deck. So there's a lot of Scions at my locals, and they're playing. And the Ida gets really big, really fast. She's like 10, 8K, 10, 12K for the most part, average. And her effect is mandatory, but she can only target dull forwards. So on your turn, you would attack with Ash. The most likely what they'll do is they'll let it go through, and then she's dull, which forces them to choose her on Ida's when they attack with Ida, and then that'll increase her power by 3,000. Then you can activate her and block. So it kind of like forces. I don't know. Like I said, she's just a great card in that scenario right there. But there's a lot of scenarios in other decks that she's just not going to die. Like we all know the Alcid against that Aluma. It's going to be fantastic. So this card is not going anywhere anytime soon, and with Razzler she can't be broken than other with damage effects, so that's great. Next is Cagnazzo, Triple Cagnazzo. Now the main reason I want to touch on this is because up until now I've been playing 2 Cagnazzo. I just felt like it's something, it's going to be good, but I'm not going to rely on this to win. But honestly, when your deck has a board clear like that, you don't want to wait for it, or you don't want to not use it. So increasing that, just making sure you have it now at 3 is just something I'm not going to ignore. And so, because I know I got away with playing only 2 of these in Boston and stuff like that. So, but yeah, Cagnazzo at 3, Scholar at 3. That's your board wipe. That's your play. Keep it and make sure you get it off. Like you get to pull it off, because that's just. It's really annoying to deal with that. Like the longer the game goes for water, the better that card is. So now we have the Triple Garnet, and again, if you look at the summons, there's she can activate most of them with her effect, because it only requires 2 water, and her effect. She's able to buff everyone, and she's able to she can't be targeted by summons. So she's got 3 amazing effects. She's never been bad. She's a legendary for a reason. And yeah, she's very important to this deck. So triple of that. Next we have Refia. Refia is also just another banner to help keeping everyone strong. Between this, Waka, and Garnet's effects, you're getting plus 3k buffs, which is great for most, just to have throughout the game, and so it's really strong. And then of course the second effect to dual 5 active cards, forwards or backups, water. You can return something in your hand. I don't normally get to do this, but it's always a possibility, so don't forget that. And then, so this deck, the engine that this deck works on is still my Mog 6 engine. Now, again, there's the reason I kept Mog in this deck is because he's gonna sit next to Minwoo sometimes, and your opponent has to make a decision what they are gonna have to fear more, and it's usually gonna be Minwoo, which will allow you to draw a Mog. I've always felt that, like, if you first turn Mog, you're gonna get away with at least 2 or 3 extra draw cards, unless you're playing Lightning, because they're always gonna open Al Cid. But Mog is just you. Like I said, I'll stand by it all the time. It is a great engine. In the next deck, I'm gonna be using another engine, and I'll compare the two, I guess. But he's a great card. Sometimes he just stays on forever, and your opponents have to make decisions whether to let you keep drawing a card every turn or get rid of your Garnet or Minwoo and stuff like that. And now, the king of the deck, I guess, is Minwoo. When he enters the field, reveal top 5 cards, add a summon to them. I have 11 summons here, and yeah, it's gonna be. The odds are in your favor to get one all the time, so you're gonna be fine. But the reason I'm playing the summons I'm playing, and again we'll go into them a little more, is because I feel like they need to be a little more proactive than like reactive, I guess, is what I'm used to playing with water. Like, so when you play water, you play Bismarck and you play Chugulane and Leviathan and stuff. And yeah, you'll Leviathan sometimes before you attack to remove the big threat. But because you're playing Minwoo, you have to use the summon when you attack. And I feel like Lightning has the best options for these. So I'm playing the 2 Odins, the one that lets me break 3 cost or less forward or monster. And that's very good to, the reason I put it in there was to help deal with monsters just in case, like, I felt I needed to. And then, as well as just other 3k forward, like other 3 cost forwards that are kind of annoying and stuff like that. So, and the reason I'm not playing triple of the other Odin, the one that lets me break anything 4 or less, is because I wanted to have something else for Garnet to do as well besides the Cyclops. So if you look here, Bismarck, Leviathan, Cyclops, and Odin, the 3-cost Odin, are all usable by Garnet as well. And really, Minwoo only has this extra access to this 4-cost Odin. And I know some of you might be thinking, why don't you just play like the Bahamut and some of the other cards? And I'm like, I don't want to put more inconsistency into this deck. So I think it's very important for you to, if you're going to play this Minwoo deck, you want to try to limit, or if you're going to try to play a summon version, I guess you want to limit the inconsistencies. And so by keeping Cyclops and the 2 Odins, the 2 different Odins, we put a little more Lightning into the deck, and you'll be surprised how often you end up with 2 of these in hand. So in case they do get rid of Minwoo, in case they do get rid of Garnet, you still have that option to pitch the 3-cost Odin and tap 1 for the Cyclops, and that's what's going to help you take away from this. And also, like I said, I just feel like Lightning has the better summons for Minwoo to deal stuff, and I think second place to that would be Earth, mainly because of Atomos and the Hecatoncheir. So yeah, like I said, you could attack and use the Atomos or either one of the Hecatoncheirs. I was actually considering, and I might try it later, is making this a Water Earth variant. Mono Water with the Earth summons, because of the Hecatoncheir to destroy your opponent's backups. I feel like there's a lot more bigger backups now that are being relevant, and if you just start removing them one by one, like, your opponent's gonna fall behind. But that's a different idea for another time. But yeah, Minwoo's great. So pretty much every time you attack, you're gonna break something, and it's gonna be free. Like, like I said, I play tested this, and it's kind of annoying when you put it forward out and it's just getting broken every turn because I have either one of these Odins or even the Leviathan. Like if my opponent would put like a 5 cost up and then I just attack and Leviathan for free, it's like, okay, all right, I guess I'll just summon it next turn again. And honestly, it just becomes annoying. And the reason I keep the Bismarck is just to still have the Bismarck and the Cyclops are still to keep that reactive, option available to you. But yeah. Next is 2 Porom. Porom is just, I wanted to add more search to this. So you have Mog to draw, Porom to reveal, and also Minwu to reveal. So you kind of want to get one of the pieces. You want to get there as fast as you can. You have all these options to draw into cards, and just milling, or not milling, but like searching, digging is going to be important. So, and now I want to talk about the triple Cecil. The reason I'm saying triple Cecil is because we can't play the other Minwu. So Cecil doesn't receive any damage from summons or abilities, and all forwards other than Cecil don't receive any damage from summons or abilities as well. I think it's very important to keep him out. The only problem I have with it now is the first turn you summon him is that he has to block, and I don't have any way to fix that. I was considering playing Ramu to Dole, or even I guess I'll get more into that in the summons in a sec, but playing Glacier or Ramu to Dole him because I wanted to have a way to save him on my opponent's turn so he doesn't die, because he needs to stick around to avoid all those other like the ping damages, the damage from abilities and summons and stuff like that. And yeah, I think we need to draw him. He's very important because he's gonna essentially, when you're playing this new Minwu, he's gonna replace the old Minwu. You could play Larsa, I guess, but I feel like he's this one's a lot better. He might be more expensive, but it's just easier to worry about it. It covers a little more, a few more bases than Larsa. And then I'm just playing 1 Cloud Darkness just for the late games plays as well as 2. This card is amazing. I still love this card, but it's just something to help push this in your favor. And that's it for the forwards. It's a good lineup. It's really strong. You don't want to overextend, obviously. The ideal combo is you have Minwu and Garnet just sitting there. Another little thing too is that because the way it's worded, when Minwu attacks, you can cast a summon, and Garnet says whenever you cast a summon, gain 1,000. All your forwards gain 1,000. So, because I know there's always that question if it's considered casting a shot, and this is considered casting a summon, so you're still gonna get that effect. So yeah, they'll sit together and they'll just cast away for free. Well, Minwu will do it for free, and Garnet will do it for 2 water. But yeah, those are the forwards. And I'm not going to go into too much of the backups. I do want to talk about some of the backup choices. Like, for example, Rattler, Scholar, and Waka, simple, right? You guys know that. Rattler's for Ash, Scholar's for Cagnazzo, Waka's for Water. Boom. Now, the other choices that I'm keeping in here is Astrologian. This deck, I feel, will benefit from keeping Astrologian. The next deck does not, and because I think Astrologian might be getting a little outdated now, honestly. It's a little slow, it's a little more expensive, it's a little costly too if you think about it. There is, I don't know, I'd rather pay the water to activate Garnet's effect than I would to do Astrologian. Because that's 2 water. It's 2 water and to tap, and it's just like, yeah, leaving it active, lets your opponent know that they need to watch out, but Ash does that already on her own. And I know she can't do it all on her own the most time, but it's going to take some restraint getting used to not playing with it. But it's definitely something that I feel we're going to see less of. Even though Ice is still really strong and really relevant, it's not, you're usually playing Ice discard. Do you really think you can afford to pitch a card to activate Astrology? I don't think so. So it's just going to be difficult. But this deck is still benefits from it. I like it here in this version. Again, in the next version, I don't play Astrology. The other backup I want to talk about is Rosa. Now, another thing that kind of makes things annoying is if when you can't target, right? Like we've all experienced that. Like the Gold Wings now have that ability where we can't target. Garnet can't be targeted by summons, and here Cecil doesn't let you target or doesn't let me receive damage from ping damage abilities. So the reason I added Rosa was for that reason. Was for two reasons actually. One, I wanted to give my opponent a little more hesitation when they're casting their summons because I'm going to keep drawing cards. This also helps against the ice matchup. So every time you Glacier and discard, you'll be drawing. Every time they do, the only one that doesn't work is Zalira, but Mateus and what's the other one? I don't know. But the other summons that ice does too is you're gonna draw, and it doesn't obviously only just work for ice, but it works for the mirror match as well. When your opponent, if your opponent is playing like a similar style where the Odins or stuff like that, or Leviathans and etc. Bismarcks, this is gonna help you stay, you don't fall super behind. You're gonna draw cards. The other reason I wanted to do this is because Protect, her S ability. Now her S ability pretty much counts as a Minwu. All forwards you control don't receive damage that is less than their power this turn, and it's super. It's not expensive. It's just another copy of Rosa, and that's great. Honestly, that's amazing. It's like if it was an S and a water, then it'd be a little more complicated. But we play Edward in Ice because he's just S. He's just a copy of himself to negate a summon. It happens more often. Why? Because it's cheap. It's just another card. It's just 2 CP, if you will, but it has to be Rosa. And Protect is great. Like you can, again, we're playing the new Minwu, so we don't have that security from the other Minwu. And Cecil and Rosa help fix that, and it's very important for us to have. And Thornton, I'm playing Thornton because again, just kind of on the same, the engine for this deck. You have Mog to draw, Porom to search, Thornton to search, and Rosa to draw. There's enough there to keep the momentum going in the deck. You also I'm not playing Leviathan. I am playing Leviathan. I'm not playing Chukulane or Belias or Fairy, the EX burst that let me draw. So Thornton's a good way for me to do that. And that's pretty much the deck. We kind of already talked about the summons. I can go over it again just a little bit. Bismarck and Leviathan are your basic water ones, but Cyclops and the 3-cost Odin is for Garnet, and then that extra Odin is primarily for Minwu. And like I said, keeping your your summon choices do the same color along with whatever the deck is, just adds that consistency. And again, if you don't have Minwu and you don't have Garnet, they can still play off of each other. So this is the first deck, guys. Again, give it a try. Let me know what you think. I want to obviously if there's changes, make them and then let me know what they are. I'm always open to them. It's not perfect. They're never perfect, but it's also depending on play style and where in the event. Like, yeah, this did good at locals, but it might not do good at a major event. I think it will, but it needs a little work probably. But try it out, guys. This deck works well. We can go into the second one, which is what we're going to do now. Now, the next deck I want to talk about here is it's a little different from the last one. You obviously notice a lot of similarities, but I think overall what I want to talk about is the engine. And the engine is going to be the new Layla Viking engine, which I'm going to say is pretty amazing. I was a little uncertain about it at the beginning. I think it's still, I've learned now that it's very strong and it's very annoying actually. But opening up Layla Viking first turn is just such a really strong play. It gives you 2 forwards, and if you open a backup, you're pretty much 3 cards on board turn 1. There's a lot of value to it. In this deck, I'm only playing triple Layla and triple Viking. You could essentially also be playing 2 of the 2-cost Viking, the one that says when it enters, draw a card, just to increase the odds, increase the consistency a little bit of it. But I think for this deck, it works out well this way, and it is a 2-card combo that works on its own, kind of like the Lena Knight, which I also have in here. But it's so good to draw it, honestly. But yeah, so that's one of the main differences between this deck and the last deck. So overall, I really wanted to compare my original Mog engine with this engine. This one I feel deals a lot better with ice. The other one deals a lot better just with in a slower paced environment. But I think the way this meta is working, and I'm sure that a lot of decks are going to be utilizing this Layla Viking engine now, the game is going to speed up. It might, and I think in order for Water to keep up with it, it's going to have to play it as well. So going into this, we have the triple Layla and the triple Viking, like I said. Next, we have I'm only playing 2 Knight. So I didn't. So before I was playing 2 Lena, 2 Knight in my other Water one with the Ephemerals. Not Knight. I was playing 2 Ephemerals. I've never been a fan of the Lena Knight combo, honestly. Like, I've always thought Lena could be getting better things. But this deck, I'm keeping it in there because it works. Actually, I might still find a way to add the other 2 Vikings, just so Lena has more targets in there. But as of right now, it's going to stay this way. I'm also playing the triple Ash for all the reasons we explained before. Ash is just that great of a card. You can't take it out. I like keeping Refia at 2. I don't want to draw too many of her. Again, keeping Cagnazzo at 3. He needs to be... so Cagnazzo is actually a little more important in this deck, mainly because you have a lot of ways to swarm in this deck. So Layla Viking, you have Lena Knight, and right there's just 4 forwards, and then you usually keep Ash on the board as long as you can. So when you drop Cagnazzo's already there to reduce for 3 just from forwards alone, and he's a little more important in here, so you want to make sure you draw him. And here I'm actually able to keep the Titus in this deck. So for you guys know me, I love this card. This card's great. I don't get enough of it, and I think because of this engine, I'm able to pull it off a little more. So again, Titus benefits from having multiple bodies on board, and so opening Layla Viking and then maybe in like 2 turns dropping the Titus, he's gonna be at 9k already being a problem. Same thing with the Lena Knight. You kind of build up that board as fast as you can, so you can do the Titus or Cagnazzo or anything like that. So it's really good. And Blitz Ace is always going to be an amazing combo if you get to pull it off. So I'm playing 2 Cloud of Darkness. I want to bump this up to 3, but I'm not sure. The only thing I can think of right now is switching 1 Lena for 1 Cloud of Darkness, just so I can draw more. Again, you're having a lot of forwards on the board, so when Layla Viking or Lena Knight, you're going to be able to Cloud of Darkness and break something for almost 10k if they don't respond in any way, and it's good. And then that's really kind of the main idea of this one. You want to keep like bodies on board. It's obviously a little easier said than done, but that's the kind of thing you're going for. And I haven't had a problem with it, other than the Scions thing, because again, I've been playing against a lot of Scions at locals, so. But it works. This is definitely a lot of synergy here with this deck. And then I'm also playing the triple Lena. Like I said, I just want to add a little more to this. I wanted to see if I can try to fit the other Vikings in there. I haven't yet, but as of right now, it still works. The Arise is always good to bring out Cloud of Darkness or the Titus or even the Cagnazzo as you're going. But I've thought of it too. You can do Cloud of Darkness. I mean, you can do Arise into Layla into Viking, and that works too. So it's good. That's why I'm playing. I want to keep the triple, but it's just I'm figuring it out. I'm trying to see which one I like better. Those are the forwards. They're pretty straightforward. I guess again, just to recap, the important thing here is the engine and the concept, I guess, and that's the difference between this deck and the other deck. The backups are pretty simple. Wrather, Scholar, Yuna. The only real difference here is the Brawn, and the Brawn is there because you want to try to get the Viking, and you can get the Knight if you need it. Because I'm only playing the 2, it's important to get either or. You want to make sure either one of them is in the graveyard, or in the destroyed pile, the break zone, and you want to have it so you can access it with Lena and Layla. See, in this deck too, we can play the double Minwu. It helps with the Titus and with the Cloud Dog, anything, because these guys get pretty big. Like your attackers get stronger, big enough, so you don't have to worry about it. And then Walk, obviously. And the summons are pretty straightforward. The only one I'm really going to touch up on is Fairy. Now, we did take out Astrology, and I'm sure you must have noticed, but this deck doesn't really need that. It's too slow. We are drawing the extra cards, or we do. It's not so much about the ammunition for the paying for it, but I feel like Fairy is a better option because we're playing the Yuna as well. We can Fairy and Bismarck only cost 1 to play, so it's effectively ultimately cheaper than Astrology, and then that's just the way I feel about it. It's also good to increase the X burst counts a little bit, and yeah, that's what we have here. Again, both of these were tested. They both did really well at 2 different locals, like different weeks. The last deck, the Summons one, was the one I tested out first. I did like it, but I did feel like it was a little slower. I feel like this one is a lot faster, and I think this one puts up a better chance against Ice. I think both of them do good against overall all decks, but if you're concerned about the Ice matchup primarily, I would go with the Layla Viking engine. It just helps you combat like the discard, the hyper turbo discard or whatever, and helps you deal with their stupid little 2 or 3 costs, because eventually you do draw your cards and then they're still at 1,000, so they're not going to be jumping in on you for those points of damage, and you'll still be able to fight back, and I think that's very important. So this is Mono Water 2 Wave, guys. There's obviously tons of ways we can do these decks. Like I said, there's Mono Water monsters, there's the summons version, there's regulars, there's, I don't know, man. That's what I love about this game, that you can build these decks any ways you want. But these are mine. These are my 2 versions. These are my opinion on the current format of Water. I really think you should be running the Layla Viking engine. It's really fun. If you haven't tested it out, please test that out. Like take out Mog or take out whatever draw engine. And the best part is honestly, I think you can splash it in anything. I think one of the next things I'm going to try is Water Wind, because we already had Water Wind standard units before, and we did play Viking back then, but we didn't have Layla now, and so now having access to that is going to speed that deck up a lot, which is what I think it ultimately lacked going into Opus 5, but now Opus 6 is changing that a little bit. So we'll see how that turns out, but thank you guys for listening. This is it. I'm going to try to get you guys some duels of these decks, or at least this one, because this is the one I have built right now. I'm trying to hollow out all of my water cards so I can have 2 water decks at the same time. It's just these water cards are annoying to get. But yeah, I am going to get you guys some duels later this week, just so you can see what I'm talking about. And yeah, I will catch you guys later. Don't forget to leave a like or a comment. I'd love to hear all your opinions. And I will catch you next time.